So next slide. So today we're going to talk about AI and the implementation of AI in arts education. And I call it a panel discussion. I'm really just here to guide two experts in the field. And so look forward to sharing this with you. Next slide. So we're super excited that you're here. Please, as the slide says, drop your name, position, and organization, site, district, or office in the chat. And tell us which number closely aligns with how you're feeling about AI right now. Great. Do not have the chat open. Welcome, Pam. Hi, Jim. Oh, one. We have some experts in the room here. Great. Great. Love to see that. All right. So next slide. My name is Dr. Sophia Fojas. I'm the arts coordinator of the Santa Clara County Office of Education. And next slide. This is my panel. Joining with me today for a discussion on AI in the arts is Nicole Bisaccia, a visual arts teacher from Milpitas Unified School District, to talk about the way she uses AI in her arts classroom. And we'll also hear from Jonathan Amayo, the Chief Academic Officer for KeyCode Media, a full-service training resource designed to provide industry-focused education and relevant work-related retraining for individuals, companies, and schools. So on the next slide, you see the agenda. Again, I'll provide a very quick context for arts education, and then I will hand it off to Nicole and then Jonathan, and then we'll hopefully have some time to answer any questions that you might have. So we have 4 professional arts education organizations: the National Association for Music Education, the National Dance Educators Organization, the National Arts Education Association, and Educational Theater Association as well. And 2 of the 4 of them have actually made some statements about AI in particular. And music education, NAFME, the National Association for Music Education, has really taken a deep dive around AI and really sees it as transforming the landscape for education, and the embrace of technology and artificial intelligence. We're already seeing it in the music industry. And so NAFME has committed to continuing to monitor developments in AI, and we'll share a few. The next slide is really a set of resources that they have on their website. There's a lot of blog posts around AI, both as a teaching assistant, and also they're also tracking state and national trends in artificial intelligence around music education. I also put in a link here, industry related, called Flourish Prosper, about music production and AI. That is a thing, and that is really going to have an impact on the music that we listen to and the sort of as consumers. And then AI and music research, I just hot off the doctoral sort of circuit. I am really interested in tracking AI research, and in this particular case, music education. Next slide. So the National Art Education Association, and I think Nicole will also speak to this, is really looking at AI as a valuable resource. It's a way for really generating ideation around art, enhancing digital design skills, and experimenting with different elements. It also offers a platform for students to explore their own creativity, and is a way for teachers to differentiate the instruction for learners of varying abilities. So it's really seen as a powerful tool. Next slide. And here are some visual arts resources. Again, the position statement from NAEA, as well as if you are a visual arts teacher and is a member of this organization, they actually had a really interesting webinar in two parts. The first around AI as a way of revolutionizing training, and sort of animations using chatbots, neural networks. And then the second part really focusing on ethical considerations of AI and the arts. And of course, I had to throw in an article around immersive technologies. Oops, it's on the wrong slide. Sorry, that's for dance. We'll slide it over to the dance things when we share these slides with you. Speaking of dance, again, no official statement from NDEO, which is the National Professional Dance Organization. But there have been a lot of conversations around dance, really interestingly, about AI. How is it disrupting both in a positive and really in a positive way around the dance industry, and how it can be a tool to sort of teach choreography, to have students do, if you go to the next slide, how they can learn in a distance setting, learn techniques and skills and performance. And it can also generate more immediate feedback, AI generated feedback. And so it's really, I found a lot of resources on dance and AI, interestingly enough, because we often don't see the practice. We think, oh, it's the performing arts. How could it be How could AI be a revolutionary tool? But choreographers are definitely using it as a tool to sort of create dance movements. And I wanted to point to you there was the Dancing with AI middle school curriculum, really interesting, had a lot of interesting lesson plans around movement and AI generated movement as a project-based curriculum in middle school. Super exciting. So now we're going to shift over to theater. And again, I think we see very similar kind of application of AI in theater as we do in dance. Digital scene design, sort of voice and speech training, character analysis, again, with the distance learning, sort of the forced application of online learning settings, having virtual rehearsals online and having AI be as a tool for that, as well as sort of the technical stage elements of lighting and sound design. And also getting feedback from audience. AI has been a really effective tool for that as well. On the flip side, the dark side of AI and theater, making sure that it doesn't serve as a way to further entrench any resource disparity. The privacy issues around AI, particularly in educational setting, making sure it's COPPA compliant, especially for students 13 years and under. So some of the ethical and intellectual property concerns, and also some of the bias that's built into the AI tools, and just being very mindful that because it is AI generated does not mean it's divorced from bias. And then just the caution around dependence around technology. If you go to the next slide, there's been a really interesting conversation around humanism and AI, and that we stay really cognizant and mindful about the human element of learning and collaborating. And I found this really interesting blog called FED Talks, theater education talks, and I also wanted to point you in the direction of NFHS. That is actually the National Federation of State High School Associations. This came to my attention as the county arts lead because they actually oversee sports and performing arts. And they were central in an aerosol study around breath and band and choir. And so they actually spearheaded this national study around safety in COVID-19. And so very interesting, sports and performing arts. And so they do have, there's a resource attached to that. So that is a super quick overview of kind of the educational context in the arts. And you will have access to these resources when the slides are shared with you. But now I want to pass the baton to Nicole Bisaccia so she can talk about AI in the classroom in the arts.
Thank
So
you.
you're doing all right?
Hi,
Okay, just
everyone.
checking.
I'm Nicole Bisaccia. I've been an art teacher for about 13 years, but involved in art education for a lot longer than that. And I'm really a nerd, so I'm excited to share some actual uses of AI in the arts rooms. Go ahead. So just to start off, this is going to be a combination of things. I think I was thinking mostly of teachers, but as we go through, it sort of zooms out. And just a little shout out to Adobe Firefly, who I could put in the input for an image I wanted as an example, and AI made one for me. So thank you. Next. I looked at this from a few different approaches. AI can really help you teach art, and I teach visual art, but it can help for teaching any kind of art, in my opinion, and not just in art classes. So I know one of the struggles of elementary and middle school teachers, and even high school teachers, is trying to incorporate or being required to incorporate some sort of art along with the content that you normally do. So project-based learning, things like that. So here are a few things. I'm just going to highlight a couple because I don't have forever to talk about this. And then again, you'll have these slides later. So next. This is my, yeah, if you can play that, there's no sound. Thank you. This is my go-to tool when I cannot think of what to do. I have a problem, just like so many other people, that sometimes I either have too many ideas or I can't think of anything, even though I had too many before. So ChatGPT and Gemini, which is approved by my school district, are incredible ways to come up with projects. Even if you were not an arts teacher, you can go in and prompt these chatbots to say, what's a good project related to this? And you can specify for this grade level or this reading level or whatever. And after that, you can use that to refine your idea and make almost every document you need associated with it. So I've had it create step-by-step directions to things that, of course, I always oversee, I always edit, I always fact check, which we always have to do with AI. It can even, if you use Gemini, it can say, okay, how would I make a slides presentation? And it'll say slide 1, title of the project, and a suggested image. It's just short of making your actual slides for you, but I'm sure we'll get there soon. But it does a great job of really breaking this down. And now I know the teachers in the room, the educators in the room, we all have lots of experience. And this might seem like cheating or relying, or you don't need it. And if you don't benefit from it, obviously don't use it, but it can be a really nice tool. It's been really helpful for me because some of my old stuff didn't get transferred over from my previous district. And so now, even though I've made that worksheet before, I don't have to reinvent the wheel or spend an hour looking through all of my old USB drives. I can get the prompt started there and then put it into my custom templates. It's also great for grading rubrics. Okay, thanks. An example from some of my photography teacher friends is that it is also really helpful for coming up with directions for software, either new tech or tech that has been updated. Okay, that's not me, right? Or tech that has been updated. So a big thing photography teachers were talking about is that every new Photoshop update, whatever, they have been working on old versions and then they get the new one and they don't want to reinvent the wheel either. So they can go to chatbots like this, they can get specific directions. And then you see in my example, my second prompt was modify the language so it's easier for people with little computer experience to understand. And it really does a great job of taking it down to lower levels. So you could use this. This makes Photoshop accessible to all kinds of ages. All right, next. Adobe Firefly is a great one for making custom visuals. It is free. I think you get 20 or 25 credits free per month. I have exceeded that. So I have one for my school account and my personal account. And if you could, well, actually, so what you do with Firefly is you give it a prompt and it generates images. So in this one, it was someone sketching a living plant. And so we got some various examples. One thing you will notice, or probably notice, is that AI has very specific preferences for what people look like. So, and this on the next slide, I actually search for basically a non-white person because most of the default examples end up being white people. So the way you adjust your language can make a big difference. Some of the examples end up being wonky. In AI, we call them hallucinations, where they sort of make stuff up that wasn't there. And so when I start getting really weird things, you know, hands missing or 3 eyes or something like that, I find usually, but not always, I get more success if I start a whole new prompt and be specific with what I want instead of keep adding on to another one. So if I'm saying, show me someone drawing a living plant, and then someone outside doing that, and then a person of color, etc., that gets really lost. But if I just go back and I start a whole new conversation with the AI and I say, show me a person outside drawing a picture of a real plant, then often those hallucinations go away. And then just as a little aside, you can specify in this what a fourth grader would do or whatever your age bracket is, but sometimes it really, really misses the mark. So in this beautiful rose that's fake art, it's AI, I asked it to show me what a fourth grader would do, and this is not what a fourth grader would do. So you do have to be careful of having exemplars that are too perfect. All right, thank you. Next. This is a great one, reverse image searching. If you're not familiar with Google Lens, it's worth getting to know because one of the big issues that I'll talk about in a minute is pardon me, is AI and specifically image copyright issues, plagiarism. So just like one of the biggest concerns teachers and everyone else has with chatbots is how easy it is to fake writing. It's also really easy to fake art, to fake photography, which is problematic for a couple reasons. I will get to that. But I just want to put Google Lens on your radar. It's totally free. You can save whatever image was turned into you. You can drop it in there and it'll let you know right now if there are similar images in the span of Google search. And very soon, probably this month, they're trying to add AI detection too, which will be hugely helpful. All right, next, please. And then AI is not just helpful for us educators, it's actually really fun and engaging for students too. It's a great way for students to kind of have a cheat sheet if they miss something. You know, instead of me explaining the Harlem Renaissance for the 37th time to the 37th person who didn't listen the first 36 times, I can say, hey, let's ask Conmigo, let's ask Gemini, or one of the other approved semi-supervised AI chatbots. Some other really fun things, you can make AI videos through Canva Video AI, which is basically you put in pictures and a sentence about what you want it to be, and it'll make a video for you. It's a great way to have students give presentations on something. Auto Draw, I'll show you on the next one. So if you can switch to Auto Draw, please. This is something I've been using before I ever thought about whether or not I was using AI in the classroom. AutoDraw is a Google-based AI program where anyone can draw with a cursor, a touchpad, whatever, and it uses its AI system to anticipate what you are trying to draw. So for example, here, along the top, the little clip art changes as you put in more graphic information, and then you can select from a long list of clip art, essentially what you wanted. This is a great thing for adaptive drawing. I use this a lot with students that have dysgraphia, for example. They can't like translate from their head to their hands what they want to draw. So we can communicate and storyboard and all that through this. So this is very cool. And next, please. This is just a nerdy thing. If you're having trouble looking for groups of colors to go for something, you know, you've done the primary, you want to mix it up, you can go to Color Magic and put in words to describe what you're doing. So autumn, you can do words like fizzy and bubbly or whatever, and it'll just suggest some colors. Also great for redecorating your home in case you need that. And then next, please. All right, so I have about 4 minutes. I feel like with every talk of AI, it's only fair to talk about the downside of it. So actually, a lot of artists and art teachers are very anti-AI. And if you look at the little image there, I included the cat from Adobe Firefly again. Maybe you can sort of anticipate why. You know, AI can hallucinate. This little cat, I prompted, you know, a cute cat doing yoga, and it gave it 2 tails. So accuracy is a really big thing. Next. The website for the color palette was colormagic.ai, I believe. So the real issue with AI images is that some of the artworks pass as real. It's problematic because it undercuts artists who've been trained and put a lot of thought and attention into their art, who can easily lose their jobs and their opportunities to crowdsourced artificial intelligence. It also takes away a lot of the spirit of the artwork, you know, a lot of the intention coming in and a lot of the interpretation being taken out. And for me personally, one of the big concerns is this sets an impossibly high standard for people who would otherwise be studying art. So when my students look for inspiration and they see all these AI paintings, it's even more intimidating to them than when they just see the professional paintings. They think, why bother? Because I can get it on AI. And I could never make it this perfect, so why should I try? Which is really, I can't go into it, but it's a disservice to everything that arts education is supposed to be. And then real quick, if we can do the last couple slides. I just want to show you real quick 2 examples. One of these is AI, and one of these is an actual painting done by a human. Which one do you think is real?
A.
Okay, we have an A. I know, it's hard to tell, right? All right, we have at least one B. Good, I wanted one of each. If you can hit next, it is actually A that is real. and B is AI. I couldn't tell. This is problematic.
I could.
Oh, okay. We got one person. All right.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's tough. Sometimes I feel like it's a coin flip, and I'm a professional person who looks at art. Let's do one more really quick. And then the A and B, which one do you think is real?
Mm.
A,
Hey. Yeah.
A, A. Does anyone feel like B? All right. Oh, thank you. Someone said B. Can you switch to the next one, please? And I'll end it on this. And my classroom lights just turned out, sorry. A is the real one. B is the AI one. But why this really matters, and I think to me it really brings home the point, is that someone spent 5 hours 5 hours doing that one on the left. They did A, the hand-drawn one, which is not like the perfect polished animation we're used to seeing, but they put so much intention and thought into it. If your resolution's good and you can look in the lower left corner, you can see that they use different markers and all that for the rays of sun shining down. And then someone took that image, put it in an AI, and in 1 minute, it spit out this other thing, which is really incredible. But also, I just want to leave posing the question of like, which is better in the long run? Which is better for the artist, the viewer, humanity, whatever. Ooh, I'm a minute over. Sorry. The end.
Thank you, Nicole. That's really great. And now we're going to get the perspective of somebody in the industry. And I'd like to introduce Jonathan Amayo.
Do I need to do anything to take control?
No,
Oh,
I don't.
You let me stop sharing and then you can share from where you're starting.
Oh, and I'll start with the PowerPoint for a little bit, and then I'll jump into the software.
Okay, all right. Just let me know.
Yeah, you can jump right into the PowerPoint. I don't. Well, mine starts on 39. Hey, there's the guy. And you can jump to the next one. So, hey everyone, I'm Jonathan Amayo. I'm the Chief Academic Officer at Keycode Media. Keycode, our school is called Keycode Education. We're a vocational school certified in California. We are the leading post-production school in the country. We offer essentially almost every post-production certification for, editorial, Avid, if you understand any of the equipment used in post-production, storage systems, so on and so forth. But our school also sells stuff to colleges and high schools. We're in at Inglewood this year teaching Pro Tools, which is an audio editing software. And we, did boot camps for ABC Unified School District this year. So we handle both professionals and academic environments. And then me personally, I actually have a secondary job where I work for a production company and I rent editing systems to TV shows, and they do color and sound at my company. It's called Atlas Digital. And in Hollywood, no TV show is guaranteed for a second season, so there's no point in ever buying anything, so they always rent. So I have an interesting perspective because I work from an educational standpoint, seeing where it's going, and then as a practical standpoint, I'm actually renting and using the gear in the field with TV shows. I mainly handle Shondaland, so like Grey's Anatomy, Station 19 is my clients, Bridgerton, stuff like that, which is actually boring when it comes to workflow and new technology. But when it comes to AI in film and TV, we're in an interesting place because it's, even though everybody's using it in the prosumer world. In our world, it's really not, it hasn't really made its way all the way to Hollywood. You see it in little bits and pieces, and there are multiple levels of production, let me put it that way. And so like in broadcast, it's a little bit more common. In a lot of universities, for instance, which I'm going to focus on post-production, but for production, we sell cameras now that shoot 8K and then have an AI system that tracks practice fields. So you can have a soccer team playing on field A and B, and have one camera pointing at it, and it can track the ball and the players, and you can set up different configurations so that all your practice fields no longer need a person filming it. The system films it automatically. But in post-production, which is really one of the big areas that KeyCode works in, there are three main companies out there. Blackmagic Design, which makes software called Resolve for editing. They do color correction, editorial, visual effects. Everyone probably here knows Adobe, and Nicole had some great things to mention about Adobe Firefly. I'm going to talk about Adobe and demo some of the stuff Adobe is doing. And then the industry leader in Hollywood is a company called Avid, and they're not used outside of Hollywood really, but if you're editing or doing high-end audio in feature film or TV, it's Avid that really owns that market. Can you go ahead and swap to the next slide? The other thing we're doing in post-production is storage. Everybody needs to work together, both in educational environments and in professional broadcasts or post environments. So a couple of years ago or 20 years ago, they came out with something called shared storage, which allowed, instead of having one hard drive for everybody, you could have you could have a shared hard drive where everyone accesses it, so you don't have to copy media multiple times. There are a variety of systems out there, and some of you might know of them. The problem with this, especially in large environments, is there's a lot of crap on your system, a lot of data, and you have to sift through it. I worked at a trailer house that had 3-4 petabytes of storage, and they had a sound effect brought into the system 260 times because they couldn't keep track of the sound effect. My point being is one of the more popular AI things that we're selling in storage for post-production is Wasabi Air, and what differentiates this from everything else is that it automatically adds metadata and tracks everything. So the most boring job in editing is logging and capturing your data before you edit it. This can identify individuals. You can set up parameters. It's really, really neat. And this is the only thing out there that's doing AI tracking metadata. Next year, you're going to see every company doing this, but they have been first to the party. And so this has been very popular for a storage perspective. And you can go ahead and flip to the next slide. And I'm going to show you stuff in a quick second. I won't take too long. So I'm going to show you two sets of software, Avid versus Adobe, so you can kind of see what each company is kind of doing and how. Avid, ironically, is the leader for feature films and TV shows. 80% of feature films are cut on Avid, unscripted and scripted TV shows. From an academic standpoint, Avid is everywhere. We deal with Glendale and Burbank high schools locally, and they're all Avid centric. I was dealing with the Bay Area Community College, and they bought Avid courseware from us, but it turns out most of the teachers teach Adobe. And my point really on this is that Avid is really popular in Hollywood and New York, but outside of that, it's less popular. And when it comes to AI features, out of all the software, I kind of think Avid is the weakest. It offers really one new major AI feature, which I'm going to show you, and it allows you to transcribe things on the fly. But every software package is doing that, and they don't have anything like Adobe Firefly to pull from. They essentially are a smaller company, so they really don't have the resources to compete with a company like Adobe. They're leveraging other companies like Google to try to, their ScriptSync leverages Google Gemini, for instance. Can you go ahead and flip to the next slide? Resolve is color correction, editing, visual effects. I would actually show you a demo of this, but it would crash my system to have this and Zoom running at the same time for the amount of RAM it pulls from my GPU. This one is interesting for two reasons as academic institutions. One, it's free. You can download Resolve at Blackmagic's website today and have all 99%. There's a $300 version called Resolve Studio, and the big differences are like 4K visual effect processing and a couple of things with 3D or stereoscopic. But the Resolve free version has 95% of the features, including sharing, all the AI features. It has AI color grading. It has transcribing. It has AI tracking. So, and it has something called the Neural Engine. But my point in bringing this up here, even though I can't demo this right now, is that Resolve is free. And what makes it even more interesting is Resolve gives away their educational content for free as well. So if you're looking to add a media program to your institution or to a program and you can't afford to purchase Avid or Adobe, which has a weekly or monthly license, you can literally download Resolve for free. And then I will show you the website. You can download all of the books. Now, we do sell Resolve courseware, and we integrate it into Canvas or Coursera, and we have CTE compliant variations of it. But the PDFs of the book and the media associated with their classes are all there for every product. And so anytime I talk to anybody in academia and I touch on Resolve, I always just point out it is an amazing product for schools because, we use this, for instance, Inglewood had no media program when we went in there, and we put Resolve in. The students can download it. It's Mac, Windows, and Linux compliant. It works on iPads. They have a light version, so the students can take projects home. They have shared systems, and the school didn't have to buy any equipment or hardware. Anyways, the next slide, and then I'm gonna jump into a demo real quick. Okay, so Adobe's doing the most, and I can actually, a soft prediction that I think Adobe in the next 3 years will overtake Avid for a variety of reasons. Mainly Avid's not doing well financially. But Adobe from an AI standpoint, I'm going to show you a couple of features. And I was on the phone today with the team from Young Sheldon, and they're using Avid on their new show. And I was talking to them about what Adobe's doing, and I have a beta version here that I'll show you tonight. They're able to pull from Firefly. They're kind of dancing circles around every other company, and they have a ton of features for editorial that kind of blow my mind. And if you go to the next slide, just real quick, there is a YouTube video that kind of goes over all the AI features in Premiere. And if you do a quick Google search, there's a ton of other AI features that are new that aren't even on this video. And before I jump into my presentation, one next slide.
In this video, I will
over that one. The last thing I'll mention is we do a lot of other courseware, and one of the courses we teach is social media content for some of the different school districts. So we have an advanced and intro level course. There are a lot more AI tools for post-production that aren't necessarily up to grade for making a feature film or even doing unscripted TV, but they're in their, I would say, alpha and beta phases. And so these videos kind of go over a ton of just free tools for students to play with, or for you to have access to, everything from 3D mapping pictures to creating maps, on people walking around a city and you want to create a visual map of that in After Effects. Well, you can now do that in a variety of AI programs. So there's a lot of tools out there that we're not using in Hollywood yet, but are in, I would say, past the infancy stages out there. I know Nicole mentioned, I argue most of the ones I use for work, but for stuff that if I'm trying to build a funky animation for a social media posting, I will kind of mess around with a couple of these in conjunction with Canva to create something. Now, with that said, can I share screen and then I'll just jump into a couple of programs real quick? So if you guys can see my screen, I'm going to first just go over Avid, which is in front of you right now. Again, as I mentioned before, Avid's kind of like the, okay, what am I looking for? Sorry, I had my bins open with everything that I needed, and now I just closed them. But Avid's kind of like the leader in scripted, unscripted television shows. It's by far and away, it's what I rent the most. Where is my files. So I'm looking for a clip with lots of talking on here so I can show you a good example. Here we go. So this gentleman here is talking. He will be talking in a second, and you can see. So the only real AI feature Avid has added, they have rebranded a bunch of features AI that were available 10 years ago. So the ability to color match, but the only feature they've added that's AI, which is nowhere near as impressive as Adobe is, you now have the ability to right click on the clip and create a transcript. And what that allows you to do is move around at any point in the text to, okay, so if I used to work as a producer at E! News, which is celebrity news, and a lot of times we would interview into people and I wouldn't really look at the footage. I would just look at the transcription and say, okay, let's choose this section and that section. What this allows the editor to do is just kind of move around the transcription with the producer and aligns footage within the timeline. Now, that's nowhere near as impressive as what Adobe did. Let me find my Adobe application. Okay, so with Adobe, let me launch they have something called text-based editing. This is available now in the non-beta version. What this allows you to do is way, way cooler. Though I will make a side note, Avid script editing does have one advanced feature Adobe doesn't have. It's not AI, but it allows you to import a professional script from Final Draft and link footage to it. It's not AI, and Adobe is working on building this. What Adobe does have is, of course, the ability to transcribe all of our footage. So what I'll do is switch into text-based editing mode. And what I'll tell it to do is transcribe my sequence. Select an option, is separate my speakers. Is it transcribing? Sequence, transcribe, is it thinking? Okay, give it a second. I don't know why it's taking this long. Normally it doesn't take this long. Oh, here we go. Generate text-based transcription. There we go. So you can see what it did is it created a whole transcription of my entire timeline on the left-hand side. I can actually click on this transcription and move through any point in the timeline. Now, why is this cool? Is because you can edit your video like you're editing a Microsoft Word document. First of all, what it allows me to do are a couple of shortcuts. Like I can say, find any time the speaker pauses in the video. And it goes through and points out every time it pauses. And I can say, I want to delete those and I want to extract and delete all of it. Now, if you look at my timeline, I know my timeline is really zoomed in, but when I delete it all, it cuts out if I zoom in here on the timeline, sorry, it creates cuts for all those ums and ums. Now it gets better than that. You can actually, and I don't want to get too deep into this, but you can actually go in and start editing sections. So this word, I don't want that word anymore. Cut. And this word, I don't want him to say that word, and you can rearrange the words like a Microsoft Word document, and it will rearrange the pictures. It's really cool, but honestly, that's not even the cool. This was the cool thing 3 months ago. It's not that cool anymore compared to the thing they just did, which is much cooler. The thing they did that's much cooler, and there's a variety of new audio tools they have, like ducking, enhanced dialogue, enhanced music, so that it automatically can see that you put music. But I don't want to, that's compared to what I'll show you, that's boring stuff. So this one, and I'm going to show you two more features. This one's really cool. So it's called Audio Remix. I have a song. I turned the audio levels down so I could hear what I was doing. Is my mixer here? Mixer. Let me turn up the audio levels. So Good Vibrations is playing. And let's say I need more of the clip, but I don't have any more music. It's the end of the song. There's a new feature called Audio Remix. Oh, it's right here. And it's called Remix Tool. And what it will do is, and it doesn't work great. I've been testing this out. Sometimes the results are funny. Sometimes are really interesting. What it tries to do is, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see what it's doing to the clip. it's going to analyze the clip as I grab it and drag this clip. Now that clip doesn't have any more handles, meaning the song is over after that part of the song. It's going to analyze it. You can see here it's doing clip analyzation. It's at 55, 80%. And it just created new handles. Now, last time I did this, what it did, this is what it looped last time. And it just kept looping it, but it created the loop itself. So the song should be over now. And it's looped that do-do-do-do. And it keeps looping. You can tell now it's too long, right? So that's one cool feature they came out with in the new beta that's available. And I'm running the beta 25. If you've ever downloaded, where's my CS? It's up here somewhere. But if you want to access the beta stuff, I'll show you at the end of this. Oh crap, my mouse. The last thing I will show you is the newest feature that just came out like 2 weeks ago. And this one is the generative fill. And it was available in Photoshop and After Effects, which, side note, I would cover, I just don't have enough time. Photoshop and After Effects are used in Hollywood, but much more, actually, After Effects is a high-end visual effects program. It is used in Hollywood. There are higher-end versions, like Fusion built into Resolve. My point being is, there's been commercials all over Reddit about generative fill, where you can take the background and put whatever you want. And you can do this in Photoshop. You can do it in After Effects, but you couldn't do it in Premiere because it's moving footage. That's changed. So now there's a new thing called Generative Extend Tool. And what it does is it will create up to 60 frames that weren't there before. Now, I tested this. I'm going to just warn you, it doesn't work great if it's talking heads. It doesn't work great on every type of footage. You know, what I have here now is a plane taxiing. So what I'm going to do is grab this and pull it out, and it's going to analyze that clip, as you can see it did before, and it's creating footage for me of that clip taxiing more. So it's 38%, sorry, 70%. It's almost done. It's quite, this one is the one that blew away the Grey's Anatomy team. They were all like, oh, maybe we need to give Premiere a second look. Now, in realistic, they're not going to use this because Grey's Anatomy is going to shoot enough footage. They're not going to need to extend handles. But for everybody who's shooting skateboard videos or, you know, sunsets or whatever, and they always, you know, a lot of people who haven't shot before turn their camera off way too early. You know, thinking that they've captured it, not realizing they might want to dissolve that shot into another shot. This is, and it's already processed the audio. It's still processing the video. Sorry, this didn't take this long this morning. Well, there it's good. So you can see it just added 2 seconds of video there. And like, let's see, this one is cool because the plane is flying off. And so I'll add it here. Oh, that one, I forgot. That wouldn't let me add it. So let's do it on this one. There are some clips that it can't process it for. I don't know why this one, it can't process it, but I don't want it. You can go ahead and turn that off. Anyway, so my point being is Adobe Premiere is way farther ahead of than Avid and Blackmagic when it comes to adding really groundbreaking AI features into the software that I think are applicable to kids or teachers who want to work on creative content. Avid and Resolve, though Resolve being much more accessible because of the cost and availability of training material, I think if you're an Adobe house, you're really you're seeing some really great things coming down the pipeline. Oh, the last thing I was going to mention was hold on, my Creative Cloud, and I can share again real quick. Is just to show you if you're interested in any of these features with Adobe. Let me just turn on my share again real quick. You have to launch your Adobe account over here, and you'll notice you have the ability, you have your apps over here, but you'll under your home page, you have the ability to add browse beta. Where's the beta button? Second, where did I put the beta button? Is it over here? Oh, right there. So under the apps, there's a beta tab. And and what Premiere does, just so you know, is it separates the beta version of the application out from the real. So if you're like an actual place who wants to use your software but want to have something cool to show the kids, you can have both the beta and the non-beta version simultaneously. And while I have you guys here, I just want to mention one thing since you guys are a lot of teachers and academic. If you go to, as I mentioned before, Blackmagic's website, if you're looking for a media program that's cheap and free, if you click on products and go to Resolve, which is the editing software, notice it's free. But when you go to the Resolve homepage, they did this recently. They made this hard to see, but at the top, there's essentially a bunch of little menu items, like all the different components of Resolve. Under training is where the courseware is located. So every Resolve book is free to download as a PDF with the lesson files and all of the you can actually test from free here. If you're looking to integrate it into your LMS, you should reach out to me independently of this. But if you're just looking to build a media program, this is what we did with Inglewood. And it was extremely at low cost because they didn't have money for it. I can't recommend another program. There's no, even if you decide to purchase it, they don't have any annual cost. So there's no spend $30 each month. It's a one-time cost for $295 if you purchase the high-end version, which you don't need. Anyways, I am done rambling. I hope you enjoyed this conversation about AI and post-production. I totally encourage you to check out Adobe. It's a lot of fun to play with it and see what, especially the music. And there's a bunch of color AI features like matching, even though I don't consider them AI in my opinion, but everything is being labeled AI now, even if it's not AI sometimes. But Adobe has a lot in there. So does Resolve and so does Avid. Anyways, thanks for letting me talk.
Thank you, Jonathan. That was amazing. And I hope you can send us some of those links. We have a folder that we're sharing with our participants.
I can send you a PDF of the PowerPoint so you can have all that stuff.
That would be great. That was amazing, truly. I need to get into my, clap. And thank you so much, Nicole, for sharing your expertise and just being open to being AI friendly in the classroom. Judy-Ann, do we have a minute or so? Are there any questions that we might be able?
We have a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to, I know there was one earlier on. Now I'm scrolling up and I can't find it, but we have one that was just asked about by Maria. Can we use Adobe to export the transcript to a CSV file?
Adobe transcript, I don't think so. Avid, yes. Adobe, let me get back on you. I don't think so, but that would be something that would change. Hold on. Actually, if you just give me 10 seconds, I can check for you real quick. Sequences. You can ask the next question and I'll come back to this one.
Okay.
Yeah. There's another question here. Is there a way to distinguish AI art from human art?
No. Definitively, I'm just fielding this question. No. Although Google Lens is coming soon and they claim that they'll have AI detection, I don't know if it's going to be, in the metadata of the image you put in. I don't know if it's going to be they look for certain things, but as people who are creators of AI programs, I'm hoping they'll have more insights on recognizing AI. But other than that, I would just say reverse image search it and then look for anomalies. Some things that I didn't include in the presentation I cut out for time are different photographs, trying to see which one of those is AI. And in a lot of them, you can find something, some little chink in the armor. It's a lot harder with art. Like that first painting we saw looks like a real painting. So you just have to look really closely and be skeptical.
Yes, you can export as a CVS file and a text file, side note.
Can I ask you both kind of more a philosophical question? I am wondering, it's so funny. I'm working with artists right now, particularly illustrators of books who are just really anti-AI, full stop. And to watch you, Jonathan, get so excited about all the tools that you're using, when you hear about that writers are refusing to use it and artists. I have a friend who is an artist who will not show her work in galleries that have AI produced work. How do you speak to those people? Because you both are such great advocates, it seems, for it. But then there is this ethical component about, I have friends, I'm a librarian also, who are like this, AI is just thievery at its very core. It's just stealing everything from everyone else and it's not original. And how do you speak to those questions?
I think I am usually an advocate of companies like Adobe that train their AIs on, non-artist, non-copyright material. But more importantly, AI is a tool. And I remember when digital cinema was replacing film, there were a bunch of zealots who would not shoot on digital cameras. Chris Nolan today still won't shoot on digital cameras. And they just believe it doesn't capture the blacks and the whites properly, and it doesn't the color and the 24 frames and blah 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 blah. And they're the only holdouts. I think it's a tool, and you have to learn how to use the tool. And obviously, in my world, the tools aren't necessarily impacting the content yet because they don't have generation of images. But even when that happens, it's just a tool. And so in the hands of the wrong person, a tool can do a lot of horrible things. In the hands of the right person, it creates beautiful art and beautiful stories. And so I can see why people are holding out. And I think that, I had a long time ago in like 2010, I lived in Los Feliz, and my landlord in this guest house was an animator for Disney. And she refused to learn how to use Illustrator on the computer. She was a physical animator. And so she never made the transition. So she retired. And I remember thinking I understand why you didn't want to learn it, but you lost out on the ability to keep creating in your world. And so, yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword. I don't know what Nicole has to say, but I'm sure she deals with it with students and all that stuff.
I can say I absolutely understand why so many artists hate it. And just like Jonathan was saying, every technology evolves. There's no way we're stopping AI. So what we need to do is learn to use it ethically and use it to support and not supplant. But there is a deep raging part of me inside that is so angry for every artist, every photographer, every person who is being undermined, devalued, replaced by AI. I mean, what was it just last year that some big photography competition, the winning photograph ended up being AI, and it came out and they know, but nobody knew that before. And so I am angry, but it's happening. And so I want to maximize the best as we can. And I'm really glad to be an art educator and not an aspiring professional artist.
Thank you. We are just at time right now. Judy Ann, do you want to talk about the next several meetings?
Yes, really quickly, if I can share about our next meetings, let me share my screen really quickly so you can see the next steps. So you should see we have our next date for this COP is going to be December 10th. And it is going to be about AI and about related to Computer Science Education Week. So I am still in the process of determining exactly what that's going to look like, but we are going to have content for K through 12. I made that clear to the people I'm working with on that. So whatever grade level you are, please join us for that. And if you have people that would be interested in learning about lessons or activities to be doing with students during CS Education Week, especially around AI, that will be happening. And then I'm going to ask you to please, if you could complete our feedback survey. That would be very helpful to us. So as we plan moving forward. So I appreciate all of you being there, taking time out of your day to learn about AI and bring it ethically to your students. And I especially want to thank Jonathan and Nicole. Such fabulous information you shared with us today. I'm so excited and amazed at the things I saw. There's so much that our students can do and can create, and I'm just amazed. So I hope that people use what they saw today and apply it. And the slides will be coming tomorrow, and you'll have a recording, and then we'll hopefully see you in December. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you for doing the feedback. And the topic of the sessions usually comes out at least a couple weeks in advance. So if you go to if you are on like my mailing list, and I will send out flyers, or maybe through Amanda's mailing list, or maybe through Sophia's mailing list, but we always put that information out beforehand if you're interested. If you're in need any of that, just email me or Sophia or Amanda.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. So
Thanks,
much
everyone.
appreciation. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Jonathan.